Hey guys and girls, Bored now back with you. On this video I will be talking about Hanna Season 2 Episode 2. It is called The Trial. So I'm going to be going into full spoilers, so just to warn you from the start. And it's another pretty solid episode, I thought. Good start to the season overall. And I think this episode definitely sort of sets up the dynamic for the season, where you have Hanna and Carla now in separate locations, and I think we're now going to see them kind of slowly get closer to finding one another. Probably more likely Hanna gonna find Carla eventually, but both the characters ask about each other in this episode, and Hanna actively tries to seek out Carla, tries to find her. So Carla, having been captured in the last episode, she now is brought to Meadows for the first time to join up with the rest of the girls. And we see some stuff with her and Sandy. Excuse me. Hopefully won't be doing that too often on this video. So we get the stuff with her at Meadows, and we also get Hanna, who's now in Paris in this episode. She, of course, met up with Marissa at the end of the first episode. They're now in Paris, and Marissa arranges for Hanna to have a new identity. She's now going by the name Chloe. She dyes her hair blonde and has a whole new identity. Marissa wants her to start afresh as a way to get her out of get her out from the CIA, and so she can't be picked up by them or approached by them or anything like that. But Hanna kind of has other ideas. I mean, she kind of tentatively agrees to the new identity, but I think we're really seeing this with Hanna, that she has very much this tunnel sort of vision, that she is very sort of determined and stubborn, and she's in a way she's not really interested in living a new life or moving away from her priority, and she's very strong in her beliefs, and she believes she has to try and find Carla. She has to try and save her from the whole institute. I will actually say, speaking of Marissa, she does actually have the best line in this episode. Is because at one point she finds out that the CIA have stuck an operative on her who's tracking her, and she loses her at one point. But later on in the episode, Marissa goes to this woman. I forget the character's name, but she goes to her and she's upfront about it, and just tells her to stop tracking her, because, as I said, they're in Paris now, and Marissa she's sort of back with them, but she's working for the Paris branch officially, so she hasn't yet taken up John on his offer from last episode. But she has this great line when she tells the operative who's been tracking her. She says, basically tell him then, if I want to contact him, I will. But she also says, tell him that if I see you following me again, I'll rip off your face and post it to him. Which is a glorious line from Marissa, and damn, she means business in this episode. But yeah, I'll talk about Hannah's side of the plot first, because what she basically, we see her sort of her instincts and her up to her sort of tricks, because there's a boy who lives across from them in the flat, and she comes in and pretends that she wants coffee, sort of thing, saying they're out. And when he's like in the kitchen preparing it, she takes the chance to like quickly look on his internet, and she finds this place where they're doing this testing, and it's in Belgium, and it turns out this is the place where they hold trials for potential girls to go to Meadows. So Hannah decides this is obviously a good way to try and find out where Carla is, because she thinks, well, maybe she might be returning to the place, or she might be somewhere like this. So she kind of has that idea, and thinks this is a good place to maybe start looking for Carla. So she goes to the trial in Belgium, obviously without Marissa knowing. Marissa finds out later on, because she sees the guy, and he's being a real arsehole. He's just pissed because she took his wallet, as well as looking up on the computer. And Marissa immediately suspects, oh, Hannah's up to something. So she looks on the search engine on the computer and obviously sees it. And then Hanna looked up this place. So anyway, Hanna goes to the place, and at first they won't let her in because you have to officially be signed up for the trials. But then she offers this girl money so that she can take her place, and at first she's like, hey, no way, I'm getting more for doing it than you're offering me. So then Hanna has to step up the force, basically, and she puts the girl in her place, and yeah, takes her identity, really, just to get into the trials. So it's this weird sort of thing, which at first I wasn't quite sure what it was or what they were supposed to be doing. But Hanna asks about Carla there, and the guy says no, never heard of her. And they sort of drug them up. So she has this drug, and the first sort of test is then they show her like this video, and it's this. Now, what's interesting here is that we see her watching the video, and it's like of out in a wood sort of thing, out in the wild, and you've got this sort of hypnotic type of music. But this could just be from Hannah's point of view. The video might have been of something else, but she just saw what she wanted to see. Because she has a particular reaction to this video where she basically freaks out. You hear like Eric's voice in her head, and she seems to be reliving her experience in living out in the wild with Carla. And she basically freaks out, and it kind of blows it for her, because obviously the plan was to get accepted and to pass the trial so that she could go to Meadows and potentially find Carla. But yeah, this has a rough effect on her, and she freaks out, as I said, and just loses her shit, starts beating up like the people at this place, and then just gets herself in deeper. And I think this is one of those plots where you could probably figure out then it was maybe too early into the season for Hanna to like just pass this trial and get accepted, and she would obviously then come across Carla. So I think this was just one of those things to show what she's planning on doing, but then ultimately it would be like a hurdle for her. She wouldn't get to find Carla this sort of early. But I guess it's also like a character thing where it shows how desperate, how sort of she really wants to find Carla. But yeah, things spiral out of control, and then she's got obviously the security after her, and at one point she comes across the guy, and I noticed his last name was Meadows, so obviously he's the guy behind the institute, the new facility, and she has him, I think, at gunpoint, and she tries to get him to tell her where the place is. But before he answers or anything, that like security bursts in, and obviously they continue. And in the end, Marissa rescues Hanna in the car. So yeah, this is obviously going to be an ongoing plot during the season with Hanna trying to find where Carla is in the location. So switching to Carla's plot, she, as I said, having been captured before, is taken to Meadows, and she reunites with Sandy, or as she's now known, Sandy, and there's some interesting stuff between them. The sort of other big thing is that Terry, who we were introduced last episode, she has to come up with the profiles and the new lives and identities for these girls, which actually I didn't cotton on to last time. I thought it was just that she monitored them and had contact. But it makes sense, and she would come up with the actual like profiles. So she has to do that for Carla. So she comes up with this new life, this new persona for Carla, and because she says to John at one point when they first meet, yeah, I did it. I came up with these contacts for her because they're just the sort of people I would want as I'm growing up, want in my life as I was growing up. So again, you don't get much with Terry and Carla in this episode, just that she's there at the end with her after she's like been restrained. But again, I think there could be some really quite meaty stuff with them. But we get more about this place, this institution, and this whole thing, because one interesting thing with Sandy and with, again, I'm forgetting, Jules, the girl she befriended in the last episode, is that Jules' boyfriend, who she was talking about in the last episode, he actually seems to have been invented by the Institute, which I guess makes sense, but because Jules was this really rebellious character who didn't buy into like the lies or the BS, I guess I just assumed that he was a real boyfriend who she stayed in contact with from the outside world, but no, it does seem like he was something created by them. And because I actually like the line from Sandy says, because Jules breaks up with him, even though he's a fake boyfriend. and she's like, so Sandy's like, oh, they're gonna have to come up with a new boyfriend for you now. So I do like the way that they're getting further into this stuff, and I like. We also see then Sandy and Jules are talking again, even though they had that fight last episode, and I quite like that because there's something relatable about how teens kind of do have these fights quite a lot, but they obviously still hang out with each other. They sort of come back together. Which, not that doesn't happen with adults, but I guess maybe it's maybe a feature more of teen life. But anyway, I am quite enjoying the dynamic between her and Jules, because I think what we see in this episode is that maybe Sandy wants this sort of virtual life, this idyllic sort of life, because she is quite taken with the place and the beauty of it. And I think in the last episode she came across as quite naive, and I still think she is naive to a point, just because she seems willing to accept what's happening to her in this life. But I don't think she's naive in the way I thought. I think, like, having watched this episode, I don't think she's naive to what's actually going on. I think she's aware that she's being manipulated. It's just to her, this is a new life, and a life she's actually quite enjoying. I think she does see the appeal of it, or at least she thinks she does. I guess someone like Jules is saying that's only because they're manipulating you. This is no kind of life, and I do actually quite like the dynamic between the two characters, and that Jules actually, although what she's saying is kind of true about Meadows, I think she is being a bit snobby in this episode, and she is like kind of talking down to Sandy. So that obviously, I think, again makes you more sympathetic with Sandy and not so much with Jules. But there's definitely something there where I think maybe Sandy knows what's going on, but she kind of likes it anyway, or she is like just fascinated by this place. But things escalate quite fast. I think this might be my only thing with this season so far, is that they seem to be escalating quite fast. It seems to have a faster pace than season 1, which actually was quite slow at times. But at the same time, I think it is opening up the show, and I think you're getting more character depth as well, which is good. But I mean, they escalate fast with Sandy and with Carla, because they end up having this big fight in like the dining hall at one point, because Sandy finds out, or Carla finds out, and Sandy, helped the CIA to track her down, because she says they asked me questions, I answered them. It wasn't intentional, but I answered. And Sandy says, well, it's because, what do you want me to do? I wanted you here. I thought it was best for you to be back here. And obviously this gets Carla's back up, because she's very suspicious of the whole place and doesn't trust them. And I think that's where the actress playing Carla does a really good job, because you can see her paranoia and her nerves, and that she just questions everything. But anyway, she's obviously really mad at Sandy for what she sees as betraying her, and she keeps calling her by her number. It's almost like to try and break the reality and confront Sandy with it. So 2421 she keeps calling her, which was obviously like the official like number before they got these new identities. And Sandy keeps saying, "Don't call me that. My name is not 2421." And that's another good little touch, because I think it's like Sandy she really wants to engage this new life. She really wants this fresh start as Sandy. She doesn't just want to be referred to as number. But anyway, as I said, they really go at it. It's like this fawn sort of brawl, which maybe feels a bit at odds with what's going on. You get like this sort of quite feisty hip hop track played over the top. I mean, it's quite a good sort of fight, but it does escalate quite a bit, quite fast, which may be a small complaint. I think I would have liked a bit more with Sandy and Carla before they got into like this fight, but I mean that may well still happen anyway. But obviously it ends up with Carla being like restrained and locked up, and that's when that's when Terry goes to see her and is apparently there for her and stays in the cell with her. And I do, as I said before, I see some good stuff potentially with Terry, because I think she will be this character who's like conflicted a bit, obviously pressured, and she's paid to do her job, but I think I can see she's going to be one of these characters that will question things and have a sense of morality. So I could see her getting emotionally involved with the girls maybe. But there you have it. That's Hanna, the second episode of season 2. Good stuff so far. Really promising a good season ahead. So let me know in the comments below what you thought of this episode. Have you been enjoying the season so far? What do you think of the new characters and some of the new ideas? Do let me know. Like and subscribe as always if you are new to the channel. And just a sort of a new thing I'm going to be reviewing coming up on the channel, and that will be the X-Files. So a more sort of older classic type show, and you can expect me to start that this week with the review of the pilot episode. Also coming up on this channel this week, there's going to be a new Netflix show called Stateless, which starts this week with Levon Sorotsky of the Handmaid's Tale fame, and created by Kate Blanchett, or she's one of the creators. So that sounds quite promising as well. You've also got Dominic West in the cast, so I will be trying that out this week as well. So look out for at least a pilot review of Stateless, and we'll see how that goes. But it goes up on Netflix this coming Wednesday. But I will be back with more Hanna reviews soon. Thanks for listening, and goodbye.